Good morning. It's 9 a.m., Monday, October 23rd, 2023. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First is to review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to waive the requirement for 3 readings and to approve ordinance 10-23-23-01, rezoning certain real property in Sweetland Township from an A1 agricultural district zoning classification to R1 residential district zoning classification on the second and final reading.
And I assume we didn't have any other communications, is that?
No?
Okay. I'll move the approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Kurt. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve change order request number 1 in the amount of $14,700 for the Certisite Jail Fire System Replacement Project with Jail Administrator Matt McCleary. Yep. Morning, Matt.
Morning, guys. So yeah, we're on the closing stages of our fire alarm system. It's probably 90% completed. We do have there was a spot in there where there was some ground faults. Where the ground faults are in a location where the cinder block walls come up. There wasn't a lot of space. It's gonna require some, like, I think 4 additional lines to be pulled in order to eliminate that. And so that estimate is for the labor to pull those lines, identification of ground faults, and we need those lines for the other components in the back area to run. So that's what's going on there. We, prior to this, we did know that we had ground faults in locations. We did not know that those locations were inaccessible for somebody to get to, so.
Is this, so now after this, Matt, are we pretty much through? So this will be the end of the fire suppression system. This is, we don't think there are more areas there you're questionable? Because you've had issues with your fire suppression over the years, right?
So the suppression system is up and running and live. The issues that we had out of this, this will take care of everything. This will put us 100% live is what the vendor is telling me. I think this quote also, there was 4, they're called shutters, or what are those, they're called in the HVAC? Dampers. There's 4 dampers that weren't located in the HVAC system. That's also listed on this quote. And those 4 dampers are in an area where they can't access them either, so. But yes, this should take care of the entire fire alarm system.
I'll move the approval.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Jeff, second by Danny. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Matt.
Scott, Mike Nolan wasn't gonna be able to get here until about 9:15, he thought.
Okay,
So
we'll just
Can we just skip ahead and then?
We'll just come back to that then. We're gonna go to item 6, and this is items with County Engineer Brian Horowski. Brian?
Morning.
Morning. First is discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of 2 2025 dump truck cab and chassis.
Yes, so did everyone get the quote there in their agenda packet?
You sure that was just 2?
Yeah, so the price shown there, it is for 2. I had to do a little bit of research to kind of figure out when the last time we ordered trucks. I know when we received trucks, but ordering's been multiple years ago. It's been very challenging to get trucks. This truck was, or these trucks are roughly, the numbers are a little different for the increase in price. From what we paid for the most recent truck, it's 4.9% greater, but H&L ate a $4,000 upcharge from Mac at the time. Either I or Keith spoke to that way long ago. But so from, if they wouldn't have eaten that and passed it on to us, it'd be about a 2.1% increase. So I'm fairly pleased with the numbers there. I wish they were lower, but as far as a percentage increase, fairly pleased. It's better than what we're seeing with a lot of other things in the construction world.
And I saw in your possible trades, have you decided what you'd trade? Or you'll wait till you get delivery on these?
It's so far out that I want to wait, and we'll probably have to. A lot can change. So the build slots here are in February of 24, which is the absolute soonest anyone could get us build slots for trucks, which is really good news. We'll see what the MAC strike, the UAW is striking at some of the MAC plants. We'll see what that does as far as availability, if that pushes us back or not. But they are slated to be built sometime in February of 24. So we would be looking at delivery sometime in spring. Once we receive them, then they go off to get their snow bodies put on or truck bodies put on. We've seen 6 months to a year for lag time there. So I guess long story short, that's a long ways out, and we'll want to see kind of where our truck pricing and value is at, and which trucks are also kind of giving us the most fits as far as maintenance. That'll
And this
certainly
is just
change.
cab and chassis here,
This is
right?
just cab and chassis, yes.
So what we see,
Snow bodies cost them.
So they've gone up considerably. A new one is around $150,000. We haven't priced one for a year or so. Currently, the next one we're going to get is actually going to be refurbished, which is about half that price. The snow bodies the truck bodies we run are fairly specialized, and they're very expensive new. Which through my research, I've kind of figured out that the original intent of that was to hopefully the truck bodies can go 2 trucks worth of time, so they can come off one once a truck needs to be retired. They can kind of be refurbished. Some of the pumps, some of the pulleys, chains, bearings need replaced, and can go on a new truck. This is going to be the first one that we try that with. We want to see how that goes and get one back, see how it works out for us before we pull the trigger on doing another refurbished one. But that was the original intent with going with these. I would say like higher grade materials and specialized snow bodies.
On those potential trades, if you decide to trade some of one or more of those in on these two, will that total price be reduced by whatever you get on those trades?
Yes, that's correct.
so I'll move the approval.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Jeff, a second by Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Equipment update.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know we took delivery of a motor grader last week, which we were very thankful to do. This one took about 12 months to get here, which is a little bit closer to normal. Prior to that, the ones we had received was about 17 months. So hopefully that's a good sign that equipment availability is catching up. And I know on this machine that we just received, we also have another one coming in about a month. They were approved as a pair about a year ago. I know Keith spoke to the buybacks weren't very good. They had a guaranteed buyback from Caterpillar. Matt Irwin and I did some research, did some looking around, and we were actually able to renegotiate with Caterpillar a much better buyback price, which was about $35,000 greater than what it was before. So, for both machines, so $35,000 on one, $35,000 on the other. So we were very pleased with that. So.
Makes sense with the equipment hard to get that you get some better buybacks.
It is, and it's a good thing with the motor graders too, because motor graders are somewhat of a specialized piece of equipment nowadays. There's a lot of other pieces of equipment in the contractor world that can do what a motor grader can with technology like machine control on dozer blades, and you see them even on skid loaders. So the demand for motor graders has gone down over the recent years. But luckily, with availability, the prices are now going up. So, with the increase in the new price, we should see an increase in the trade-in is what we saw. So, we're glad to see it.
Okay. Very good.
That's all I had. I did not have another.
All right, thank you. Discussion, next is discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the October 16, 2023 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Jeff, a second by Danny, and all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Correspondence, Jeff, you got anything?
All I had was the invitation to the open house, I think it is, at the Stanley Center for Peace, that the Clean Energy Muscatine County District is having, so
Okay.
that's it.
Nathan?
Same, I did receive a question from a resident about the amount of affiliation between the Muscatine County Clean Energy District and us and the county government, and I think it's a good time to reiterate that there is no affiliation whatsoever. They just have it in their name.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay. I had, nothing to note. Danny?
I got a call the other day from Rebecca Paulson asking, she's from the chamber, asking, what we had moved forward on about that tip discussion. And I know, Tybee sent us an email that she had been in contact with that. I think it's Ted Nelson with the Department of Management, and it sounds like Iowa chapter code 40322 talks about residential development tip regulation, and if we decide that this is something we wanna do, he recommends that we get bond counsel involved before we would move forward, so. I told her that's where we're at, we haven't really discussed where we're gonna go or what we're gonna do.
Yeah, so I don't know, typically when we get bond counsel, I mean, there's a cost to that.
Yep.
So the question is, I think the board needs to wrestle with is this something we even wanna entertain, or are we just not interested in investing money to do that? I'm kinda up in the air on it, you know, we could put it on for discussion point and get some, maybe see if the public wants to input, but, you know, we did put some funding from our ARPA funding, and we had some of those, tax dollars that we were able to move over to the community foundation to support residential, development, construction, whatever, to try to home affordability, and I'm not sure that, I think that the county government wants to get any deeper into the weeds there. As you look around to some of the others, I know Scott County, in talking to their supervisors, you know, they have some residential subdivisions that somehow, through some mechanism, they own the roads in, and, they wish they didn't, you know. I think if you talk to Brian, we don't have the equipment to do residential, road work, maintenance. That'd be a whole new world, so that's a whole new level of funding we'd have to think about, and I just am not sure it makes sense to us. I encourage these developers to reach out to the city and consider annexation.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I stand on it either. If it needs to be added to the agenda and we can discuss it, we can go that route, but I'd have to learn a lot more about what it would even look like to even think if it's something we wanna consider.
And I don't know, you know, I mean, I'd have to read that whole TIF thing and what what are you buying and what can you pay for? I mean, it's not a grant program. You know, there's some, I don't think I'm here to be giving people's money away, and so what would the county be buying? And in my mind, that's infrastructure, and I'm not sure we wanna own any infrastructure, other than the gravel roads we have today.
And that's all I had.
So do you want this on a future agenda?
I think it'd benefit us to learn more about it. If you have someone come in and,
Who would you have?
I don't know. Maybe there's some and maybe there's not, but I feel like I don't have a clear enough understanding of it to make a
I'm the same way.
qualified, so I'd like to learn more about it. And I don't know if,
Do
does
we know
anybody
any-
from ISAC
Do we
or
know
anybody?
do we know any counties that have done that, or?
I can reach out to find out.
I mean, what do we pay ISAC for? They gotta have somebody who knows this, right?
Oh, within ISACA?
I would think someone there might have a good idea.
Okay.
Well, they should have.
Yeah. We do pay them.
Mhm.
It's a fact.
Okay.
Okay.
Any correspondence on your
Nothing to
end?
speak of.
Okay. Committee reports, Jeff, you have anything?
Yeah, on the 16th, I had the Eastern Iowa Mental Health Region.
Okay. Nathan?
Let's see, on the, close Wednesday, the 18th, with the Wilton Economic Development Commission. And we also had the Veterans Affairs meeting on the 18th. And it looks like, well, it doesn't look like, we have agreed with Wilton to sell the last piece of real estate in their industrial development area there. So that is a very good sign. It's gonna be fully booked.
Very good. On Monday, the 16th, I had Conservation Board, and on Wednesday, the 18th, I had Riverbend Transit. Danny?
I didn't have anything last week.
Kurt?
And I didn't have
Nothing? Okay,
Mike's here now if you wanna.
sure. Let's take and go back to number 5, items with Mike Nolan, Horizon Architecture. Morning, Mike.
Good morning.
First is discussion and possible action to approve service order 23-004, Muscatine County Jail Mechanical Penthouse Access Panels and Platform Modification Project in the amount of $9,500, and authorize staff to proceed with the project. Okay,
So this is a project that, walking through with Oscar, when the original geothermal equipment was installed up on the mechanical penthouse, I think the 2006 edition, there's filters that were basically put in an inaccessible location. So kind of looked through a couple of the different options. One would be to completely rework the equipment to turn it around, which didn't seem like a very feasible option. So what we're looking at doing is adding 2 access panels on the interior stairwell side that in an extension of the platform at the upper level that would allow maintenance staff to have access to those filters to replace. So we're looking at a little steel work to extend the staircase out and then cutting into new access panels to access those filters.
And this is a project that was not in our capital projects plan. It wasn't budgeted for. However, we did budget funds for a bathroom project in the jail. We budgeted, I think we borrowed $195, is that correct? And budgeted $125. Our thought process is Kayla checked with bond counsel about, since we specifically borrowed money for a project, how do we apply it elsewhere? And there is sounds like there is a process we can go through to do that, to reallocate those dollars towards this project and some of it towards the next thing he's gonna talk about, which is the insulated panels on the outside of the jail. We did budget for that, however, we already know there's gonna be additional costs because there's some issues with facade. Some of the places where they'll attach the panels, there's some issues there that we're gonna need to address before we attach the panels, so we know we're gonna have additional costs there.
and this has been in the works here for a bit, am I correct?
This one?
Yeah,
No, this one
This
is
is new.
new that came up as part of Mike's walkthrough
Okay.
for updating our master plan. But it's an issue that we felt like was important enough that we probably need to address it and not put it several years out.
So this is gonna develop the opinion of cost and such.
This is full service to get all
This
the
is
way
full
through,
service.
yeah, for opinion of cost, through bidding, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, this will get us through that project. Rough guess is this is going to be under the threshold, so it's most likely won't have to do a full public bid process. We ought to be able to solicit 3 on this, just based off what the probable scope of work is. So the idea is to get this turned as quickly as makes sense.
Okay.
The total amount of A and B would both be reallocating bond funding for both these A and B projects?
Our thought was to since we budgeted $580 for the second project, which was a cost estimate from Mike, but since then, we know that have some issues over there to address, that's gonna bump up the cost of that project. So the thought was to take the money that was allocated for the bathroom project and reallocate it to these 2 projects. And we probably won't need all of it, but, That's, right now, we just don't know exactly what those numbers will be.
And I would say probably from a priority standpoint, the heating and cooling, getting that. dealt
That's
with is
certainly the-
Probably our priority in the jail at this point.
That's certainly the opinion of the sheriff and the jail administrator.
Yeah. So I would move the approval of A. I'll make a motion on that.
Second.
Okay, I've got, motion by Jeff, second by Nathan on A.
Does that motion need to include where those funds are coming from, like you just mentioned? That doesn't need to
No.
be?
No, well,
We'll probably have to take action on that.
if that's the
later.
process we go through, yeah, we'll have to set a public hearing and there's a process we have to go to reallocate those funds.
Okay.
So I've got a motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. B is discussion of possible action to approve service order 23-005, Muscatine County Jail exterior insulated metal panel installation in the amount of $27,500.
Yeah, so just a little background on this. This is something we've been working on the jail for several years. So I think 3 years ago, we completed a partial roof replacement project, which addressed most of the 1996 portion of the jail. As part of that, we added some additional insulation, brought that up to current code. And I think that when we did that, that made a pretty good impact on what was going on with the geothermal system and the interior temperatures. As part of the booking expansion and renovation, we took the rest of the 1996 portion, exterior walls, and hung the insulated metal panels on that. And from what I understand, that's made a dramatic impact on both the interior comfort and temperature control level, and then also on the tax on the geothermal field. I think that, it sounds like this last year we still had on some of the really hot days, we're still not quite keeping up with the cooling, but it has definitely helped overall. So with this portion is basically to take the remainder of the 1996 portion where the insulated metal panels stopped on the last project, start that over around the administration. We'll take that back to approximately the area of the loading dock. And that's going to help us address some of the issues that Nancy mentioned about on the 2006 portion of the jail, there's a couple of spots where the pre-insulated, precast panels, there's some spallings, brick and things like that. So the idea is to figure out where we have those particular issues and then basically stabilize that and then cover over those spots. The 2006 portion of the jail was built with a different construction type, so it's a pre-insulated panel system, and that seems to perform much better. So basically, this will be probably the last of our exterior energy upgrades on the jail, short of maybe looking at coming back and doing glazing at some point in the future, but probably as good as we can get for the time being.
So this is gonna finish I'm trying to, are we gonna have the whole jail complex clad in these insulated panels or just?
We won't do the 2006 portion, which is basically, so if I'm doing this correctly and get my bearings right here, so on the northwest corner, so the new portion, a two-story addition, that brick will remain exposed because that's a different, the original construction was concrete masonry unit with a very minimal, maybe an R10 insulation and then a brick on the exterior, so didn't perform very well. The new is, I think it's probably an R25 or 30, it's an insulated metal panel, so it's more of a sandwich. We talked about this, we just didn't see the value of necessarily wrapping that. From an aesthetic standpoint, we wanted to do that. We could look at that at some point in the future, but from a thermal standpoint, there's not a ton of value in wrapping that exterior envelope of the newer portion of the jail.
And the other place in the jail that we've had an issue is the administrative offices. And so we're just starting a project to put some mini splits in there and deal with the issues with their offices being way too hot or way too cold. And Quinn is paying for that out of the commissary fund. But that, hopefully, these two things together will get us to a point where our geothermal is performing much better and we can maintain the temperature of our
And
jail.
last year we had a week. How many days last year did we have where we had issues with the geothermal? We had to shut this building down one day, 1 week, 2 days.
2 days, 3 days?
This year.
2
This
days.
year I had to raise, it was only 1 day when I shut it down. And of course, it was this building and attorneys in the courthouse. Last year I didn't have to. The years vary, and the worst part of it is just to remove humidity. When
And then we had one or 2 days that we had to,
Cause you elevated
Raise
the temperature in the buildings and.
Yeah.
I might take
Okay.
the set points at the chill because that's the 24/7, but in this one, I raised the set points to 80, so people just can move around and, you know.
Do we have any way of predicting how much load we might take off of the geothermal by doing this?
Potentially, it's not something I would do in-house. I would probably bring in a mechanical consultant if you want me to get you an idea on that. I think it's probably gonna be a little, I think just is more at this point empirical evidence, so we've seen, I mean, Oscar, so I know that these last couple of years have been better, but previous to that, it felt like we would be shutting down 4 or 5 days just about every summer. Does that seem accurate?
And running sprinklers on the roof and all kinds of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so it's better. I couldn't say exactly how much, cause that's also gonna depend on when do we get these spikes in the temperatures, what does that look like?
And how many and how humid. Okay.
But I think then from the thermal comfort standpoint of regulation of the interior temperatures, even with the new mini splits, taking some of that load off the geo, this is definitely gonna be a move in the right direction. It should be the final move. This is a 50 to 75 year product, so once it's up, we're done, so.
Okay. I'll move the approval.
Second.
I got a motion by Jeff, a second by Danny. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Anything other, Mike?
I think that was it for today, so.
Very good.
Appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.
Mike.
Next is items with the administration office. First is discussion and possible action to approve resolution 10-23-23-01, transferring funds from the GIS fund to the general basic fund.
I'll move the approval.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Kurt. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve resolution 10-23-23-02, transferring funds from the GIS fund to the rural services fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nathan, second by Jeff. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Motion passes. Anything else, Nancy?
Just a reminder to the board that you guys have 2 appointments to the compensation board. Right now, both of those are vacant. The comp board typically meets in late January, early February. So you guys really need to be finding some people to serve on the compensation board.
Any restrictions on gender or anything?
Well, since the appointments are, each one of the elected officials gets 1 appointment and the board gets 2, since you don't have control over those other appointments, the best you could do would be to appoint 1 female and 1 male and have gender balance for the part you have control over.
There was new legislation concerning compensation boards, correct? I thought last year where you could. I don't think it passed. It didn't pass.
Okay, I was going through my head too. I knew there was something that had happened previously, but I didn't realize it
I don't think it passed.
didn't get any traction. Okay. Is that it then, Nancy?
We need
Yep.
2 members.
Yep,
Thank you.
2.
Okay.
Received information from county employees. Do I have any county employees that, go ahead. Morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. Just a quick update, since we did talk about the Certisite project. Hopefully, we're looking at completion of that project within the next 2 to 3 weeks. At the same time that we presented that, got that approved, we also presented the accurate control project, the door and alarm control project. Hopefully, that project is coming to completion by the end of this week. We've had a few hiccups with that, but everything with that's coming together pretty well. So we should be completing that one the end of the week. I think we've got training set up on the new system November 1st and 2nd or 2nd and 3rd, I believe. So that one's coming to a close as well.
So other than the pain of going through the project, are you glad you did it?
Absolutely.
So far?
Absolutely. Watching the previous company's equipment go out the door was a very high point for me. We were gonna do an office space thing. We were gonna drag it out in the yard and beat it with baseball bats and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the update, Clint.
Morning, Eric.
Morning. I know a few weeks ago, during correspondence, there was some mention of a citizen that had contacted us in regards to our wind energy ordinance. I've not gotten a lot of other feedback from the community, but there is one resident that seems very concerned about the details in our commercial wind energy ordinance. Original one was passed in 2016, so, a lot has changed since we originally adopted those provisions for, you guys are all aware of how much bigger commercial wind energy turbines are. Jeff had went to some sort of green energy meeting and given me the name of a guy that was the state director for Center for Infrastructure and Economic Development, who apparently offered to do just kind of a free review of our current ordinance on that. It sounds like he's pretty knowledgeable in this area. I don't know a lot about him, if he's on the clean energy side or the county government side, but it sounds like he's well versed. I'm just kind of looking for some consensus before I reach out to him. I don't think it would hurt anything to have somebody who kind of works in this field take a look at our ordinance, see what his opinion is. Because I do continue to get urgings from one resident who just thinks that our ordinance is completely inadequate. And so I thought we could reach out to somebody that works in this field if there's consensus. A lot has changed, probably wouldn't hurt anything. We could take a look, see if he has any recommendations. Because I think this is a thing that's gonna continue to come around, and maybe we get an idea if we're kind of staying up with the changing times on these things. But
I think if you recall, we got that correspondence a while back and pointed to some changes to a particular county's ordinances. And when I went and read the changes and I looked at the ordinances in those counties, they were around some specific wind farms that were, it was very, very specific. And it all dealt with, setbacks and site distances and heights of towers and all of that. And if you recall in our ordinance, we didn't do a specific site. All of ours are based on the height. So if they go taller, they gotta go farther. And we didn't really have, in that one, it had a prescribed height and a prescribed setback. We don't do that. We do X times the height of the tower and all that, so. And I don't recall if that person was advocating for a maximum cap on the height of the turbine. I don't recall, but.
she's had a number of concerns, including additional environmental bird studies, things need to be done. I've tried to convey that I execute policy that you folks said, and that, we'd taken a pretty good look at this a few years ago, but I would certainly mention it again, and we could reach out to this firm that apparently is knowledgeable and see what they have to say. But that, I wanted to see if there was a consensus to do that before I just,
Do we know what kind of work product this individual would generate for us?
I've not even talked to him
Okay.
yet, but, I can find out some more details and report back if you wanna go that step. Like I said, it's just somebody that continues to contact me, want to know what I've done about it, and I've tried to make it clear that this is your.
I think if somebody's willing to look at our ordinances for, poison pills, whatever you wanna call it, or protection for the taxpayer and landowner, I'm okay with it. I would say, if they want compensation for that, then I think we'd want you to come back to the board and then we'd talk about what is their work product, but they're willing to do it non gratis, and we can always just put it in file 13 too.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Okay, very good, thank you, Eric. Do I have any other county employees that wish to address the board at this time? Seeing none, come forward. Receive comments from the public. Do I have anyone from the public that would wish to address the board at this time? Seeing no one come forward, we're going to move forward, and we will be going into closed session. So we will return to that in just several minutes once we get the room in proper order. Thanks, guys.